I got a lot of projects to do with this wild boar, but I think what's really important is going through the process, making things I've never made before. The fact that I've had the animal from head to toe, start to finish, is absolutely amazing. I've learned so much on the way to this, and I've only made a few things. So far in this journey, we have ground the meat for chorizo, Spanish chorizo, Mexican style chorizo. I've also processed 2 of the legs for culatello style country ham. Anyway, very similar to that. Those are both gonna be quite a while. So one is at 22 days, one is at 30 days. And basically the technique we're using for that is called the equilibrium brine. And I'm just learning this technique myself, where you just put the salt, you don't have any water at all, and then you cryovac it. And then over time, you rotate it and squish it around a little bit, and it distributes the salt throughout the meat evenly. I think it's a really cool idea. I'll actually leave the link to where I saw it. Thank you for coming along this journey for me. It's gonna be great. I think, you know, especially with the ribs, I can't wait to see what I do with the ribs. I wanna make Canadian bacon with the loins. I can't wait to use the shoulders, the neck pieces, the rump pieces for, I wanna make carnitas or braised shoulder. We'll get into it. We'll see what I'm gonna make, and I'm looking forward to it. Okay, it's gonna be a couple videos long, but I wanted to show you what exactly I do with all this pork. Let's go. 4 guajillo chilies dry. 5 California chilies, pretty much for color. They're not spicy at all. 3 ancho chilies. Then you're gonna rehydrate these with water, hot water. Set these aside and let them fully hydrate. It's about 20 minutes. So we have all the pork trim. This is from the shoulder, from the butt. And then I also added about 1 pound of pork belly. Okay, this is raw pork belly for the fat content. And basically what we're looking at here is about 5 pounds worth of meat, and then we'll go over the full recipe here shortly. And what you wanna do is get these items in the freezer so they're super cold and honestly, partially frozen, so that way they grind really nice and easily. Let's go. So basically, I also store this in the freezer. Just make sure it's super cold, okay? This is the grind. I got my die in there. We're using a medium die. I got my large mixing bowl, and we're gonna start grinding the meat, okay? I'm not gonna record all this part, but I just wanna show you the start. Okay, next step, 6 garlic cloves. And listen, use fresh garlic, okay? Trust me, it comes out a lot better, it's fresher. Don't use the pre-minced or the pre-packaged, okay? Fresh garlic, 6 cloves. Okay, then the rehydrated peppers. It's gonna be a little bit warm, but that's totally fine. We're gonna add the apple cider vinegar to this mixture. And then I always like to add the things that aren't gonna be powdered, right? So that's gonna be the Mexican oregano and the thyme. And then we're also gonna add 2 bay leaves. And then I'm just gonna use a little bit of this water, just enough to puree. After I finish grinding, I put this right back into the fridge. You wanna make sure this is ice cold, okay? That's very important, or else the fat will start melting in your hands, and you'll see as I start to mix it. But now we're gonna go in with the ingredients. So what I like to do is start with my dry. So this is a 1/4 cup of ancho chili powder, 3 teaspoons of salt, 1 full teaspoon of onion powder, 1 full teaspoon of garlic powder. Sorry, that was a tablespoon. Those are both tablespoons. 1 full tablespoon of paprika, 1 tablespoon of cumin ground, and 1/8 of a tablespoon of clove, 1 tablespoon of black pepper cracked, okay? So very coarse. Then we're also gonna add 1/4 cup of neutral oil, okay? You can also add pork fat, which we're gonna do as well. This is the pepper mix. We're gonna add all of it. I think what's really important is like, you want the chorizo, the pork, the quality of the pork to come through, right? But you also want to respect authenticity of the cuisine, right? Now, what I'm gonna do is just get in here with my hands and we're gonna mix. Best part. And I usually let the pepper cool down. You don't want it to be steaming or boiling. And then we're just gonna get right in there. So I realize a lot of chorizo recipes vary from different regions of Mexico. Every family has their own way they like to do it. So this is just my take, and obviously trying to respect the culture. Pro tip, whenever you mix sausage, obviously we're gonna let this marinate, and I'm actually gonna vacuum seal it so it's ultra packed, but you always wanna taste the piece. Take a little piece, taste it, and you will know. So fry off this little meatball and I'll come back in 5 minutes. After I give this a couple more mixes, I mean, it's looking good, it's smelling great. I wish you could smell this. Okay, once we have our chorizo, what it ended up doing was just mixing it for about 3 to 4 more minutes, and then I checked a piece, and what I wanted to do was make sure it was 100% emulsified, so that way the fat is actually in the meat, and when you go to cook it, it doesn't separate really quick, and what you end up with is a mealy chorizo. But it's very important, now we let this sit for 24 hours minimum. And we'll be able to, I'm gonna use some for chorizo and huevos, and I'm also gonna use some to put in some hog casing. So, 24 hours we go. Well, that might be perfect, but. So we got 100% pork fat. 100% pork fat. And basically, I like to keep it solid frozen. That way I can get nice dices. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna weigh out 300 grams, put the rest back in the freezer. Now this came from the back of the animal, and it came from the boar actually. This is hard fat. So what I'm looking to do here is cut small pieces. And you wanna do this while this is frozen. What I have here is cubed up pork fat, okay? Small dice, all right? This is 300 grams. This is very important with Spanish chorizo. Ground pork, chill in the fridge, same grinding process, okay? We have 1,900 grams of, this is a mix between shoulder, butt, and a little bit around the back, okay? The chorizo I'm really excited about. Again, like I said, this is my first time making it, this style. So fat right in. Here we go, and I'm gonna read off the ingredients that I have written down here. This is 36 grams of salt, and then I also have some sodium nitrate. This is gonna be 5.5 grams. I'm gonna go ahead and mix that up into, I should have mixed it with the salt, but you know, I suck. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix it into a bowl, just because I wanna get these clumps out. And then we're gonna mix that right in. Sodium nitrate is optional, but in all honesty, you know, I'm doing charcuterie and some preserved items. So sodium nitrate is just, you know, it makes it look prettier, more aesthetic looking, right? You do not have to use nitrates, but in all honesty, it just makes it a lot safer. Minced garlic. Okay, this is 6 cloves. Now use fresh. You wanna use the whole head of garlic to create the mince. Do not use the already peeled garlic. Trust me on that, okay? Because you will yield a better product as the sausage ferments. You know, the garlic won't take it over the edge. All right, now for this, I'm just gonna go ahead and mix it up. Remember, everything has to be really cold, and I'm gonna have fun stuffing this tomorrow. Now the worst part about this is we can't taste it because it's raw right now. Okay, boom, there it is. We're gonna let this marinate overnight before we put it in the casing. I always like to label everything, just so I know exactly what's going on, because I have a lot of projects in the fridge. So I know this might seem gross to some people, but I think this is the most effective way to make sausage. You can also use synthetic ones, but it's better to use the natural casing. So what I'm gonna do is just pull a little bit of this out, okay? And you just pull what you need, you know? You don't need to pull it all out, but I'm making quite a bit of sausage today. So what I like to do, cut there. You want to make sure whatever you're putting the sausage on, especially for Spanish chorizo, is that it is super sanitized and clean, or else you will introduce bad bacteria, and you do not want that. The reason why we put the water inside, so it kind of lubricates the casing. And same thing over here. You want to make sure it's nice and wet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure of this by putting a little bit of water on here. Another trick is, like if it's being too resistant, just a little bit. So put a tablespoon of oil in the start. There we go, a little bit more. And then that way you can lube it up if it's giving you some trouble. There we go. Look at that. All right, and so we are at the end here. This is very important. Make sure there's no air pocket. So you want to squeeze out the air and the oil and then just tie off the end. And I leave a little slack just in case I have a blowout. I have a little extra sausage to work with.
Okay, great. If you made it to this far in the video, thank you so much. And what I'm doing now is I'm just basically having my wife push the meat through while I'm stuffing the sausage. I would highly recommend, if you're gonna get into charcuterie and sausage making, do not use the KitchenAid attachment. What I realized is it just purees it and then pushes it through. I don't recommend this. I recommend a sausage press. But anyway, I made it happen, and basically it's the same exact thing for the Spanish and the Mexican chorizo. The only difference is for the Spanish chorizo, the dry cured one, we're gonna let this hang for 3 weeks, okay? And even though I have the footage and I wanna share it with you, I wanted to just keep the two parts separate, okay? The finished part from the actual beginning stages. But as you can see, this looks super plump, and honestly, it was really good. But if you look at the sheet pan behind it, that is the Spanish chorizo. What I'm doing now is the Mexican chorizo, same exact technique. One is gonna be fresh, one is gonna be dry. All right, so make sure you stay tuned, and I really appreciate this. I had such a blast doing this whole project. I call it Project Boar or Project Sudai. It was really awesome, but hey, stay for the next episode. I'm telling you, it's gonna be juicy. I'm gonna make a couple more things, and then we're gonna get into the finished products. Thanks a lot for watching, and make sure you stay tuned because you're gonna love it.